Now we will go through the procedure of titration. First of all, you should set up a clamp stand and a burette. So we have to make sure the burette tap is closed and is clamped vertically. The second step will be to rinse out the burette. It's really important to clean your glassware before using them. So we will rinse out the burette using some of the reagent we are about to use, and then we will get rid of these. So we will open the burette to empty the solution that we used for cleaning. Then we will move the burette to the correct height for filling. Make sure that the top is below your eye level. You will have to loosen the boss and move it around the side. Loosen the clamp and move the burette down over the edge of the bench. Now we will pour the reagent into the burette using this funnel, and don't forget to remove the funnel once you have filled the burette. One important note is to remove any air bubbles, so let the reagent run through the burette briefly to remove any air bubbles trapped below the tap. In this case, don't forget to place a small beaker below your burette. Now our burette is ready to use. We will read the volume in the burette. Make sure to read the volume from the bottom of the meniscus. And don't forget to record the volume. So in this case, the initial reading is 5.90. Pay attention. You should record the volume to 2 decimal places. Let's now add the other reagent to the conical flask. So you have to add a known volume of the other reagent to the conical flask using a pipette. Make sure that the pipette is clean beforehand by rinsing with a portion of this solution. So this is the same that we have done with the burette. But now you will rinse the pipette with the solution that you will be transferring to the conical flask. We will add an indicator to the conical flask, and this indicator will help us to determine the end point or the equivalence point. You have to add 2 to 3 drops of the indicator to the conical flask. Now we are ready to start the titration. We will add the titrant, which is in the burette, to the flask until we think we are close to the end point. Then we will constantly swirl the flask. The color change is easier to see against a white background, so use a white tile at the bottom of the conical flask to help you. So again, we will add the titrant until we think we are close to the end point. Then we will be shaking the flask. And to help us observe the color change, we will use a white background. Let's now find the end point. To find the end point, we will add the reagent from the burette drop by drop while constantly mixing until the end point is reached. The end point is when a permanent color change occurs. So now the color is changing from pink to colorless. Once the solution becomes colorless, this means that we have reached the end point. And don't forget, of course, to record the final volume. So we will record the final reading of the burette into the titration table, and then we will be able to calculate the volume used and to find the unknown concentration. What's the reading of this burette? Excellent. So this is 31.20. So these are the steps of titration. Let's repeat them again. First of all, you have to set up the clamp stand and burette. Then you will rinse out the burette with the solution to be filled in the burette. Let's now move the burette to filling height. So always make sure that the burette is below your eye level when filling it. Now we are ready to pour the reagent into the burette using this funnel. Don't forget to remove the funnel when the burette is filled. We should also remove any air bubbles trapped below the tap. Take the initial reading of the burette, then add the other reagent to the flask using a volumetric pipette and a pipette filler. Add 2 to 3 drops of the indicator to the conical flask. This indicator will help you to detect the endpoint or the equivalence point. Then we will start the titration by adding the titrant from the burette to the conical flask while mixing to be able to detect the endpoint. We will find the endpoint by adding drop by drop the reagent from the burette, and when a permanent color change occurs, this means that this is the endpoint. And finally, take the final reading on the burette.